Welcome back to So You Really Want to Learn Latin, and today we are going to be looking at the mixed conjugation. So that's verbs that go like capio. Now, capio sounds as if it should go like audio, because it goes io. But when you look at the principal parts of a mixed conjugation verb, the present infinitive, far from going ire, as you would expect it would, like audio, audire, a mixed conjugation verb has a present infinitive in ere, like reggere. So in other words, you've got io in the first principal part, but ere in the second. So, principal parts of capio are capio, capere, capi, captum. And that shows you it is a mixed conjugation verb. So, how do these little chaps go? Well, really they're not very difficult. They sort of go like audio, except that the pronunciation of the vowel is slightly different. But to all intents and purposes, if you think of it as going like audio, you won't be very far wrong. You might mispronounce it, but you'll kind of know what it is. You've just got to be aware that all our wonderful discipline of looking at principal parts, where we've seen that if it goes o-are, it's a first conjugation verb. And if it goes e-o-ere, it's a second conjugation verb. And if it goes o-ere, it's a third conjugation verb. And if it goes io-ire, it's a fourth conjugation verb. All of that we've got absolutely nailed. Well, in a sense, I suppose, just keep following that discipline and know that if it goes io-ere, it's a mixed conjugation verb. Okay, so enough preamble. Let's see how it actually goes. So, capio in the present tense goes capio, capis, capit, capimus, capitis, capiunt. Okay, now you should be able to hear that the vowel is short. That I is capio, capis, capit, capimus, capitis. Okay, unlike audio, which is audio, audis, audit, audimus, auditis. That long I you don't get in the mixed conjugation. But then the third person plural is that iunt that we saw in audiunt. Okay, so present tense of a mixed conjugation verb looks as if it's going like audio, sounds more as if it's going like rego, apart from the third person plural. Okay, in the future, capiam, capies, capiet, capiamus, capiatis, capient. Nothing funny there. Looks exactly like audio. In the imperfect, nothing funny there. Capiebam, capiebas, capiebat, capiebamus, capiebatis, capiebant. Okay, so exactly like audio. And then, as you would expect, the perfect tense, you just know what the third principal part is, and whatever it is, that's where you go to form the isti, it, imus, istis, erant endings of the perfect tense. So for capio, that's capi, capisti, capit, capimus, capistis, caperant. Okay, so really that's all there is to worry about for the moment. Later on you'll find that there are a few funny little things we need to worry about. But just for now, mixed conjugation verbs look as if they should go like audio, sound more as if they're going like rego. Apart from that, pretty straightforward. They're reasonably common, these verbs. Capio, obviously, is the one we've just looked at. Fugio, fugere, fugi, fugitum, means I flee. That's a mixed conjugation verb. You can tell because it's fugio, fugere. Facio means I do or I make. facio facere, feci factum. I do or I make, and that'll do for now. So, just before we leave you to contemplate life after Capio, I just want to tell you one little thing which has been sort of bugging me and I kind of need to share with you. And that is, when we want to say in Latin something like he says or she says, in other words, you've got direct speech and it's in inverted commas, and you see something like et tu, Brute, said Caesar. Okay. When you want to say said Caesar and you are quoting the direct speech that we've just seen in inverted commas, you don't use the Latin for to say, which is dico. And if it was asked Caesar, you wouldn't use the Latin for to ask, which is rogo. You actually use a slightly peculiar little verb. It's called a defective verb, and it is inquit. Now, inquit is basically found in two forms, the third person singular and the third person plural. Inquit means he or she says, and inquiunt means they say. And you don't really see it in any other tense other than that present tense form. So inquit could mean he says or he said. Inquiunt would mean they say or they said. So just give you a couple of little examples of that. In the book, as always, there's great stuff in the book. You might have a sentence such as quis inquit puer, meum librum capit. Okay, now it's clearly a question. You've got a question mark at the end. And the question is, if you kind of look at only the stuff that's inside the inverted commas, the question is, quis librum meum capit? He wants to know. Now, who asked that question? Well, puer inquit. The boy asked. Okay, so inquit, it really means he says, but when it's a question that you're asking, when you're dealing with a question, and it's clearly a question because there's a questioning word at the beginning and a question mark at the end, translate inquit as he asked, not he says. One more, again in the book, we've got insulam magnam inquiunt nautae capere cupemus. Okay, now we don't have a question here, but you've got a statement being made and it's broken up either side of this little bit with inquiunt. So the way to deal with that is you deal with insulam magnam capere cupemus. In other words, everything that was inside the inverted commas, broken in the middle by inquiunt nautae, but disregard that for now. Translate the bit that's in the inverted commas first. So you've got insulam magnam capere cupemus. Normal rules, go to the verb first, cupemus. Now, cupio cupere, cupivi cupitum means I want or I desire, and it's a mixed conjugation verb. Cupio cupere. Insulam magnam capere cupimus. Go to the verb first. Cupimus means we want. Right, what do we want? Cupio, very, very often followed by a present infinitive, because we want to do something. In this example, we want to capture. Capere cupimus. So, we want to capture. What do we want to capture? We want to find an object, if there is one. And at the beginning of our sentence, we've got insulam magnam, the big island. Okay, those words both in the accusative case because they are the object. So, we want to capture the big island, And then we deal with the little bits we haven't done yet. Inquiunt, nautai, said the sailors. Okay, so that's two little things for a nice short lesson today. The mixed conjugation, Capio, capere, Capio, capere, fugio, fugere. Okay, those funny combination between io in the first principal part and ere in the second. Mixed conjugation verbs. Now that you've met them, they won't spook you when you see them again. And a cheeky little thing about inquit and inquiunt, just to polish your Latin, when you see those words, you know that they mean he says or she says or they say, but you can translate them appropriately depending what kind of context they were in. If they're in a question, translate them as asks or asked. If they're in a statement, says or said. And if you kind of feel there's shouting going on, you could even translate them as he shouted, or they shouted, or she shouted, or whoever shouted. Okay, right, that'll do for now. See you back here next time when we are going to be looking at Roman numerals. But until then, keep your head down, make sure you are learning this stuff off by heart. So if I were to ask you to write it out in an exercise book with a pencil from memory, boof, off you go, you'd be able to do that. I'm sure you would, but if not, keep checking back and make sure you've learnt this stuff off by heart. Okay, see you next time.